Pretty much everyone dislikes Scott Frost. I really don't know why, but everyone seems to hate the guy. Personally, I like Scott Frost. It was really fun when he was at UCF, and I found it really cool that a former legend in a program took over his own alma mater and is trying to save it. I root for Scott Frost each week, and despite the media hyping up Nebraska every year, I don't really let things like that bother me, and I do want to see the Huskers get back to being good, because overall, I like when the Huskers are good, and college football is better when the historic teams are better. Sadly though, Scott Frost has not been able to get over the hump. He hasn't made a bowl game in his first 3 years, and if he wants to make one in 2021, he's going to have to win a big game. Unfortunately, his biggest win ever came in 2019 against Michigan State, which was against a 6-6 regular season team. Frost has not been able to win that big game, and when it comes to close matchups, there's always some new way for them to lose. We've already seen it multiple times this year. Against Illinois, they lost late. Against Michigan State, they lost late. Against Oklahoma, they lost by 1 score, and then this past weekend, they lost to Michigan in what was a really heartbreaking game. The Big Ten East is absolutely loaded and it's crazy, so I kinda did want to see Michigan win, just so we could have 4 top 10 teams, but also I wanted to see Nebraska pull that game off because that crowd deserved it. Scott Frost deserves a big win, and I want to see Nebraska get to a bowl game this year. It's really unfortunate what has happened to Scott Frost, and in today's video, I want to talk about just how bad he is in close games, why he's one of the most unlucky coaches we've ever seen, and my outlook on Nebraska and him moving forwards. But before we get into that, nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel for this season, so be sure to hit that button as I really appreciate it. Smash that like button for the algorithm, let me know another topic I can do next, and turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now, let's get started and talk about Scott Frost and Nebraska football. So like I do in pretty much every video on this channel, I want to go back in time and introduce you to who Scott Frost is, how he became a big-time coach, and overall, just to inform you on the actual situation. Scott Frost is a homegrown Nebraska football player, as he was born in Lincoln, Nebraska, and had a spectacular high school career in which he had nearly 12,000 yards and 150 touchdowns. He was a huge recruit and actually decided to take his talents to Stanford. Finally, in 1995, he decided to transfer back home to Nebraska, and in 2 years starting for the Huskers, he led his team to a 24-2 record, and he had many memorable moments, including their legendary flea kicker against Missouri, and a national title win over Peyton Manning's Tennessee Volunteers. Frost went down as a legend in Nebraska players' eyes, and he also got a chance to play in the NFL. From 1998 to 2003, he spent time with 4 different teams, but it was pretty short-lived as he eventually went into coaching, as he got his first start at Nebraska as a graduate assistant in 2002. From there, he went to Kansas State and then Northern Iowa before he was hired to be the wide receivers coach at Oregon. In 2013, he got promoted to the offensive coordinator, and he worked with Marcus Mariota and helped that offense become electric. Because of how great of a job he did, he was hired by UCF. The Knights were in an absolutely terrible spot as they were coming off a winless season and they needed a guy to change the program. Frost was brought in and he did a great job. In 2016, he won 6 games and even brought them to the Cure Bowl. He had found a star quarterback in Mackenzie Milton, and in 2017, the Knights went off. They finished the regular season at 11-0, won the American Championship game, and were undefeated going into the college football playoff rankings. Unfortunately for them, they were not selected into the bracket, but they would get placed in the Peach Bowl. In that game, they beat number 7 Auburn. Some people say that wasn't that impressive of a win. When you take a look at Auburn, they were pretty good. They beat both Alabama and Georgia, and both of those teams ended up going to the playoff. People will always wonder how UCF would have done in the playoff that year, and the school actually claimed a national championship that season. That is hotly debated, and UCF has gotten clowned on a lot for that, but in my eyes, they deserve to get in that year. Following his spectacular season at UCF, there were a ton of rumors that Frost was going to leave. This did in fact happen, as Mike Riley was fired from Nebraska, and all of a sudden, his alma mater was opened up. What would be better than bringing in your former legend to be your new head coach and to save your struggling program? It seemed like a ball and glove fit, and the Scott Frost hire received unbelievable hype, and I'm not gonna lie, I bought into it, and I really wanted to see it happen. So now let's talk about what's gone on in Nebraska so far. The first thing Frost did was find his quarterback, and he flipped Adrian Martinez from Tennessee to Nebraska. He became the immediate starter, and there was a lot of hype going into their first game. They played against Colorado, and this was one of the better games of the 2018 season. The Buffaloes came back and had a late touchdown. Nebraska's backup quarterback could not get the job done, and they lost. From there, unfortunately, they lost to Troy, and this started a 6-game losing streak, which included losses to Michigan, Purdue, Wisconsin, and Northwestern. They finally got the first win of the Frost era against Minnesota. Then they beat Bethune-Cookman. They put up a fight on the road against Ohio State, and then beat Illinois and Michigan State the following 2 weeks. And sadly, they were not going to be able to make a bowl. They finished the year losing to Iowa, and the first year under Scott Frost, they went 4-8. Going into 2019, there was so much hype. Martinez was supposed to be a Heisman contender, Nebraska was supposed to win the Big Ten West, and everything was supposed to come together for Frost. Well, it didn't quite go that way. They lost in week 2 on the road to Colorado in overtime, and this game was very tough for them. They did beat Northern Illinois in Illinois to get the 3-1, but then they got absolutely obliterated by Ohio State at home. This basically ended the Nebraska hype train, and besides a win against Northwestern, they lost 5 of their last 6 games, including losses to Indiana and Purdue, and the team went 5-7. Iowa kicked a game-winning field goal to end their hopes, and now Frost had gone his first 2 years without making a bowl game. Frost was feeling the heat going into 2020. Sadly, it didn't go that much better. They lost to Northwestern and Ohio State in their first 2 weeks, and then they did somewhat rebound. They beat Penn State, Purdue, and Rutgers, and they ended up going 3-5. This was a weird year that didn't really count, and 2021 was going to be a big year for Frost. In a game that I was personally at, Nebraska took an early lead on the road against Illinois, but the Illini, led by a backup quarterback, came in and stole this game in week 1, and now the Illini look absolutely terrible, and this game is going to haunt Nebraska. Thankfully, they beat Fordham and Buffalo at home to get back to a 2-1 record. They went on the road to play number 3 Oklahoma, and this is where things have finally started to go in Frost's favor. They played the Sooners really tough, and they looked like a completely different team, as they only lost 23-16. The following week, they went on the road to an undefeated Michigan State team and had the lead late in the game, but unfortunately, Jaden Reed returned a punt with just a few minutes to go, and then they threw an early pick, and Michigan State hit a game-winning field goal, and this game slipped out of their fingers as well. They came back home to Lincoln and dominated Northwestern, and they were 3-3 going into a primetime ABC game at home against number 9 Michigan. This was the opportunity for Frost to finally get that signature win and get them on the track to a bowl game, but sadly, they couldn't get it done once again. Adrian Martinez scored a touchdown midway through the 4th quarter to give them a lead, but Michigan went down and kicked a field goal, and then Martinez fumbled with just over a minute to go. Michigan got the ball, kicked a game-winning field goal, and just like that, they had lost another game. When you look forward to their schedule, the next 2 games are absolutely crucial. They play at Minnesota, and then they get Purdue at home. They have to win both of those games if they want a chance to go to a bowl game, because who's their schedule to end the year? Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Iowa. But that road game against Wisconsin could be their opportunity. The Badgers are down this year, and Frost needs to win a big game. Luckily for Frost, those last 3 games are all opportunities to change the narrative, and it honestly wouldn't shock me if they beat Ohio State or Iowa, but I also wouldn't put money on it. Overall, I do think Frost is going to get this team to 6 wins, but just how bad has he been in close games? Well, let's take a look at some stats. Since 1998, they've lost 15 one-possession losses, and apparently according to the Bear, that is the most in the FBS. The Huskers are 5-15 overall in games decided by 1 score, and that absolutely has to change. Special teams has been an absolute killer to Nebraska over the last few years, and they can't seem to get it done. But finally this week against Michigan, there really wasn't a glaring special teams error, and this time it was just a fumble error as Martinez fumbled the game away, and Frost had this to say about the trajectory of the program and the loss. Quote, "We've been close for a while. We're really close now. We've got a team that can compete with just about anybody, and then once you've built that team, it's learning how to win, and then it's learning how to handle winning. We're right in the middle of all that." I do agree with Frost on that, and the star quarterback Adrian Martinez also had this to say. Quote, "We're a good football team now. We need to get more wins, and we've lost some really close, tough games, but this is a special group of guys, and I know we're going to bounce back." I really do feel for Coach Frost, as this has just been such a difficult season for him, and they cannot seem to win a close game for their life. That's why I think it's inevitable that they end up winning a big game at the end of this year, and I do believe Scott Frost will be the right guy for the job. You just got to give him some time, and this team is coming together. What do you guys think, though? What is your opinion on Nebraska football under Scott Frost? Should they find a new coach, and how do you think they will do the rest of the year? Be sure to let me know the answers to that down in the comment section, and also give me a topic I can take a look at in my next video. Also, before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.